Hey guys, this is Jay Lethal, the greatest first-generation wrestler, and you're listening to Interactive Radio.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
All right, awesome. All right, next up we have the record holder for most combined days as ROH World Champion, the title which he will defend this Friday at 17th Anniversary. He is the franchise, Jay Lethal. Good afternoon, champ.
What's up, guys?
All right, let's get with the first. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
It's just a little delay, that's all. Okay. How's it going?
All right. Thanks for joining us. Let's get right to the question. First one from Alex Jimenez from SoloWrestling.com in Barcelona. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, Lisa. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hi, man. Going into Madison Square Garden, New Japan is announcing that the IWGP Heavyweight Title match will be the main event. How do you feel being right now the Ring of Honor World Champion, being the franchise, knowing that in Ring of Honor biggest event, the main event is going to be a New Japan match?
Well, I don't think it's a Ring of Honor show. I think it's a joint venture between New Japan and Ring of Honor. So the toss-up, probably the discussion was whose match is going to main event. And I think that as the Ring of Honor World Champion, as long as I'm on the show, then we're not doing a disservice to any of the fans. So yeah, I mean, I would love to be the end-all, be-all last match that they see. But if that's not the way that it's going, the chips are going to fall, because like I said, it's more than just a Ring of Honor show. This is a joint venture. This is the New Japan / Ring of Honor show. So if they got the lucky straw and their match is at the end of the day, then I'm excited for them, because I think that's a really cool thing to be able to say. But then again, I'm also excited for everybody on the show that day, because we're making history. Never did anyone think that an event other than WWE would, wrestling anyway, would be running in Madison Square Garden. So all the things that you thought were impossible, thanks to wrestling's boom period, are now becoming possible. The walls that we thought were impenetrable are now coming down. So we're about to make history. So it doesn't matter if I'm match number one or the main event. We're going to make history. The event is sold out, and should be one hell of a wrestling show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Alex. Next up is Alexandra from Slam Wrestling. Go ahead, Alexandra.
Hi, Jay. I was wondering, how did you feel about Matt Taven unveiling his custom Ring of Honor World Title, even though you were the actual title holder?
Well, I thought it was very disrespectful of Matt Taven to do such a thing. Although it was done many years ago by someone that I idolize, and Ric Flair. Ric Flair brought his own belt to the company that he went to. So in some way, I kind of see it as Matt Taven paying homage to some of the great wrestlers in the past. Although, I mean, deep down inside, I wasn't a big fan of it, because it is a spit in the face to everybody who's held the real Ring of Honor World Championship. Guys that I've gotten the pleasure of working with and looked up to, like Samoa Joe and CM Punk. Guys like Bryan Danielson, legends in the making for some of them anyway. So to say that I don't want to put the hard work in to try and win the real belt, the real trophy, I'm going to make my own and claim that it's the number one thing, no matter where you are. If it's basketball, baseball, any sport that you would ever attempt that in, could be perceived as disrespectful. I just wasn't a big fan of it, that's all.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Alexandra. Next is Anthony Suter from Smart to Death. Go ahead, Anthony.
Hi, Jay. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How
Hey,
are you?
I'm well. Assuming that you're victorious on Friday, what are your plans and how do you continue to carry the ROH brand through 2019 since you've really become the face of this company?
Well, I don't think I would change a thing. I think, I like to think that I'm doing a pretty good job. You know, I don't talk about it much, but it's so nerve-wracking and stressful to be the face and world champion of a company that has solidified itself on the wrestling map for being the company that produces some of the greatest matches in history. It is a company that, from top to bottom will deliver from every match, was the first or the last. And I am the world champion of that company. So all I can remember is watching before I became a wrestler and in the process of becoming a wrestler. And even once I became a wrestler, all I can remember in my head of Ring of Honor is guys like Samoa Joe with the company on his back, guys like AJ Styles and Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness. And then when I think about myself having to carry on the legacy and the work ethic that these men have, like I mentioned, they're legends. It is a bit stressful, but I do think that I'm doing a pretty good job, and I do think the stress is actually something that's helping me. Every wrestler, I think, performs better under a stressful environment because that's when they really need to excel, and that's when you really see what a wrestler has to offer. And also with that said, all I can really see right now, I've got tunnel vision. Everybody on our roster is excited about going into Madison Square Garden, not taking away anything from these other events that we got going on. I mean, we're in a few days away from live on pay-per-view, Las Vegas, Nevada, me versus Matt Taven for the World Championship. But right now, all anyone can see, like giddy little children, is Madison Square Garden. And I hope that I get through Matt Taven. I'm sure it won't be easy if I do, but I hope I get through Taven and through all the other events that we have, and I am able to walk into Madison Square Garden as the world champion. To me, that's a bucket list thing you get to check off. Man, I really hope that I make it to the Garden as the Ring of Honor world champion. That's my ultimate goal.
Thank you. Good luck Friday.
Thank you very much. Hopefully you're watching.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Next up is Anton Jackson from Vulture Hound. Go ahead, Anton.
Good afternoon, Jay.
How's it going?
Going all right. You've pretty much been an ROH guy for most of your career, so you've seen a lot of change within the promotion. What's your perception of ROH now in 2019 compared to, say, 2004, 2005, especially, on the eve of Madison Square Garden pay-per-view and a landmark show like 17th Anniversary?
And literally the only difference I see are the names. The names on the roster. That's the biggest difference, the most notable one anyway. I mean, we had guys like Samoa Joe, and I hate to keep bringing them up, but you got to when you talk about Ring of Honor. We had guys like Nigel, and just think about all the guys we had and their work ethic and what they all brought to the table. Fast forward now to the Ring of Honor of current day, same work ethic, except some of them are bringing a lot more than was offered before. Just their names are different, and that's the biggest change. Also, this goes without mentioning, the Ring of Honor of old had a little trouble getting their product out to the masses. We really focused on DVD sales. That was how we got our product out there. But now we're on television, backed by Sinclair Broadcasting. So, I mean, yeah. So the Sinclair Broadcasting thing, the fans don't really catch that. What they see instantly is just the new names, and that's probably the biggest takeaway. New names, but still same work ethic. Still, these matches are being put on like nobody's. I mean, we got a guy on the roster named Bandito Jr. He's only 23, and he can do things that most people only dream about doing in their sleep. And the crazy thing about that is, even when they're dreaming about doing it in their sleep, they still can't perform it. But he can. It's unreal, the work ethic of some of these guys and what they can do. So the big difference, I would say, is the names on the roster. But the work ethic and the type of matches, it's still all the same.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next is Chris from Pancakes and Power Slam. Go ahead, Chris.
Jay Lethal, how would you grade your day today?
What kind of scale are you giving me here? What is it? Letters, numbers?
Letters.
I'm gonna give it an A grade.
Nice.
I live in Tampa, Florida, and the sun is always shining, so it's hard not to give my day an A.
Yeah, I can't complain about that. Yeah. So you last time I was on this conference call with you, I actually gave you the countdown of how many days you needed to become the longest reigning ROH champion. You thought that was a lot of pressure, but I knew you could do it. You did it, and now not only do you have the longest reigning, but you have the most title defenses. So I think it fits the moniker of being the greatest first-generation wrestler, as you proclaim yourself. So let's get to some other goals, since you've basically done it all in ROH and will continue to do it and hold it up high. So my question to you is: so we've seen Ric Flair, we've seen Macho Man, who you do very well, both of them. We've seen Sid. What are some impersonations that we can see from Jay Lethal that are up your sleeve in the near future?
The best impersonation I think I've got is the greatest world champion in the history of Ring of Honor, which would be myself. I most of those characters you mentioned that I did, those were still all at a time when I was still finding out and mastering myself. For me, it has always been easier to draw strength and confidence from being someone else until I learned how to be comfortable and confident about being myself. And then also there was a comedy factor, and people love a good impression. They really do. So that was another reason why I did some of those. I think my imitation days are possibly behind me, although I don't mind pulling out once in a while a character that I've already done, like Machismo or Ric Flair. But to search for the next good imitation that I have, I think that's over. Right now I'm more about, currently anyway, leading the charge of Ring of Honor, flying that banner flag and producing what Ring of Honor is used to producing, which is some of the greatest wrestling matches in the world. And although it'd be entertaining to do some comedy, maybe a couple more impressions, I think right now I've got to focus on being a little more serious, because you've got guys like Matt Taven vying for the Ring of Honor World Championship, and something about that, it goes beyond this the realm and scope of what professional wrestling really is. Matt Taven, although I don't get along with him that well, he's got an amazing work ethic, and it's driven by the fact that he would love to be in the spot that I am, which is the world champion, leading the company, putting the company proverbially on your back. Matt Taven is out to show that when given the same opportunity, he could strive, and he definitely would. And I'm out to make sure that I keep that spot for myself, not because I'm selfish, but because it's the dream spotlight for any professional wrestler. And right now is not the time for me to find out what is the next impression that I could do. Right now, I'm worried about remaining Ring of Honor World Champion so that we could go into Madison Square Garden as the world champion. Because like I mentioned before, that's definitely something that I'm going to be checking off of my bucket list. You mentioned, though, before setting these goals. Now, I had never set the goal that you had set upon me to become the longest reigning world champion or the most title defenses. I didn't set that goal. You did, because actually I'm afraid to set goals for myself, because I've gotten to do everything that I've gotten to do in professional wrestling without ever having to set a goal. I have compared my wrestling career to winning the lottery. I've been in the right place at the right time, and when presented with those opportunities, I have had the skills to back it up. So I'm afraid that if I started setting goals for myself, they wouldn't come true. The only goal that I've ever set in professional wrestling is to hold on to this Ring of Honor World Championship long enough to walk into Madison Square Garden with it. And with Vegas a few days away, I hope that I have not jinxed myself. So.
Well, Jay, I'll take credit for setting those goals for you. Thank you. And do
me a favor, set some more goals for me. As long as I don't do it, then I can't jinx myself. So go for it.
Sounds good. Well, walking out of MSG is walking out of Vegas and MSG as world champ, and hopefully we'll see your previous theme song too, man. I missed that theme song.
Do you really? Wow.
I do.
Maybe
I
I'll
do.
maybe I'll go back to it.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks, Chris. Next, Evan from Under the Mat Radio. Go ahead, Evan.
Yes, how you doing today, Mr. Lethal?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well. I wanted to ask you, what's the name, you being the longest reigning Ring of Honor heavyweight champion, most title defenses, being, of course, the Ring of Honor, whatever happen to do in the future, Hall of Fame, of course, you'll be first ballot with your title defenses, with your long tenure there, your nickname, the franchise, being called that. Of course, you know, the likes of NBA great Steve Francis, Francisco Liriano, Sting, Shane Douglas, with your name being this franchise, your nickname, I should say. How do you feel about the nickname, and does that add any pressure for you being the franchise of ROH when you think of Ring of Honor currently, and even a few years before? The first man you think about being a world heavyweight champion is Jay Lethal. Talk about how you feel about the nickname, and if you have any added pressure with performing and holding that Ring of Honor flag.
Well, there is pressure, but not from the nickname. I think the nickname more so came from my body of work, and every time I go out there, it's clear that I'm working for one goal, and that is to strengthen this company. That is to make Ring of Honor bigger than it was yesterday. I think people took notice of that everywhere I go around the world. And Ring of Honor allows some of their wrestlers to do other wrestling shows around the world as well, because they realize that the more we spread the Ring of Honor name, the bigger the company will go. So even when I go overseas and do a few shows overseas, I still have the Ring of Honor shirt on my back. I mean, I just tout the company's flag everywhere I go. And I think that's what got me the nickname. So the extra pressures of being the Ring of Honor World Champion has nothing to do with the nickname, although I do love the nickname because I love Ring of Honor. But yeah, if we want to talk about the pressures, yeah, sure, there is a tremendous amount of pressure on me, like I mentioned before, to help Ring of Honor stay along the same lines that it's been traveling on since the beginning of its timeline, and that is putting on these fantastic matches that people want to look up and YouTube, and they're this match of the year candidate. Ring of Honor's always produced matches like that because it's always had one of the best rosters in the world. No matter what era, time frame you go back and look at Ring of Honor's roster, it always has the best wrestlers out there. And if you need proof of that, just look at everyone else's roster and see that everyone higher up on their cards came from Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor's constantly having their rosters plucked through to make other rosters better. And it's something that's happened since the beginning of Ring of Honor's timeline up until now. And the Ring of Honor, the only reason they've been able to survive is because they don't hem and haw, and they don't try and find a replacement, because some people are irreplaceable. You know, they just go out and look for other talent out there and say, come on, there's a couple spots available now, and you're not here to replace anyone. You're here to show the world what you can do. And it's always done a great job of doing that, which is why we're in the position we are right now. We're about to have a live pay-per-view in Las Vegas, and we've got a sold-out Madison Square Garden as we enter our joint show with New Japan. So the company is great. But, yeah, the added pressure is definitely there, but not from the nickname, although I do love the nickname, the franchise.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You.
All right. Thanks, Evan. Thanks, Jay. Next up is James Walsh from Wrestling Epicenter. Go ahead, James. James, go ahead. All right. No James. All right. Jason Frazier from ESPN Radio in St. Louis. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Jay. How's it going?
Jason, like I mentioned, I'm in Florida, so it's going real good.
Yeah, it's better than St. Louis.
Really?
We're like 38 degrees here. So you're doing much better than me.
Oh, man. It's going well. It's going well.
I want to ask you a question because in regards to, you know, being a young African-American myself, growing up and seeing African-American superstars such as Booker T and Mark Henry, even going back, I can remember all the Junkyard Dog too as well. What does it mean for you to kind of be a role model for young African-American fans and also up-and-coming wrestlers also and coming up in the business, young African-American wrestlers too as well?
It's amazing. It means I couldn't be prouder of myself and of all African Americans out there to say that, you know, I hate to talk like this because when we make the conversation about a specific race or type of people, that kind of leaves other people out, which is why I don't normally talk about it, but it's not that I'm naive or blind to it, but African Americans normally have traditionally not been given the opportunities that, let's say, I have to become the face of a company. And I've got to say that it means the world to me. And I really like the fact that it also is showing that times are changing. Not to say that the company that I work for has ever had any bias against any race, especially my company, the company that I work for, Ring of Honor, but it has happened in wrestling in general. And luckily, I work for a company that I've never had to put on some kind of facade or play into any stereotypical role as an African American. So I've got to say that I am extremely proud of myself and everything that this company has allowed me to do. And if anything that I've been allowed to do has helped or inspired anybody, no matter what race they are, but specifically any African American, then I've got to say I'm extremely proud.
Thank you, Jay, for those words. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. I think James Walsh is here. Go ahead, James.
Hey, guys. I'm sorry about that. I was here. I was hitting that little red box to turn it green so I could talk. And just
no worries. No worries.
All right. So I'm back in here, guys, and it's a pleasure to talk to the franchise. Mr. Lethal, it's a pleasure to talk to you. So my question for you. Watching Ring of Honor TV the other day, you guys created a moment when you destroyed the imposter Ring of Honor World Championship, that of Matt Taven. Not Mr. Taven, but Taven's belt. So when you destroyed that belt, it kind of brought everything back. Instead of everybody being giddy and, as you said, looking past possibly the 17th anniversary show to Madison Square Garden, reminded everybody that there is a major main event happening on pay-per-view on Friday night with yourself against Mr. Taven. I feel like some people might be sleeping on Mr. Taven. They might think that he's not going to be able to take the title from you, but I think he's a game competitor. What is your thoughts on Matt Taven legitimately?
I definitely think that a lot of people are sleeping on Matt Taven. Not to say that I am hurt, but I am slighted that I mean, it's also due to my body of work, but I do feel a little slighted that most of Taven, anyone's questions to him is, what is it like to be stepping into the ring with Jay Lethal? What does this match mean to you? And no one has really asked me, what is it like stepping into the ring with Matt Taven, or my thoughts on that match. And the reason it hurts is because Matt Taven, he is so driven and hungry, and it makes him excel very well in the wrestling business. He's got a burning desire to show the world that he can hang with anybody. You put him in the ring with anybody and he can hang. And it is true. That is the sad part. It is true. Some people don't see past certain things, but it's definitely true. I get to see Matt Taven before those cameras start rolling. And I've got to tell you, the work ethic from this guy, it's amazing. So I definitely do believe, although we don't see eye to eye all the time, Taven is definitely not only saying he's a viable threat is an understatement. Taven has what it takes. And I tell you one thing that I don't mind saying, although I would fear for what he would do as the Ring of Honor World Champion, I don't fear for the company at all. Because if Taven were to become the Ring of Honor World Champion, I know that he prides himself on being the number one guy of a company known around the world for its wrestling. He would go above and beyond in every match, like no matter if there's 10 people there or 10,000, you're going to get your money's worth if Matt Taven is in the ring. So it is a little sad that some people are sleeping on him, but it goes without saying because he's not the nicest person in the world. But if given the chance, Taven would be one hell of a Ring of Honor World Champion, and he is given the chance. And we'll see if that's possible on pay-per-view in a few days.
As a guy who grew up in New Jersey, just a few miles from you, where you grew up, I know Madison Square Garden is a huge show, but I'm glad to hear you're not looking past Las Vegas, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Las Vegas has the potential to change and shake up a lot of things that are already planned. So there'd be so many things that have to be changed. There's so many things that are going to have to be changed, because even if I do retain, there's still a few things that need to be fixed up. But there's so much on the line in Vegas I don't think people understand, but that's because everyone's excited about Madison Square Garden, wrestling in Madison Square Garden. Everyone's excited about wrestling in Madison Square Garden. It's going to be wild.
Cool. Thank you. And I appreciate you guys letting me get my question in, even though I was absenteeism a few moments ago.
No worries. No worries. We believe you. That button just wasn't working. Did we lose Mark Kruskal?
All right, next is Sean from Fightful. Oh, no, you will never lose me. Go ahead.
Hey, Jay, thanks for taking the time. I asked Matt about that Real World Championship belt, which was destroyed. What were your thoughts on the belt, how it looked compared to the actual World Championship? Did you have any feelings about that from at least a visual perspective?
From a visual perspective, I don't know if you got to see it up close. But from a visual perspective, okay. It looked just like my belt. It just was purple and had more stones on it. From Matt Taven's perspective, though, it was his and he owned it, so that's what made it good. But just from a visual perspective, I mean, I don't think it was ugly. What it represented was, but it would look the same as my belt, just it was the purple strap and it had more stones on it. That's all. And his name was on it. That's probably his favorite part.
And it's significantly more damaged now.
Now it is, yes. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't one of the most fun things I've ever done, getting to destroy the belt. I got to use the bat and the axe. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't think I've ever hit anything with an axe or a bat before. So I played Little League a long time ago, but unfortunately, I'm an awful baseball player, so I never hit the ball. I got to the bases once because I got walked. So I've never been good at baseball, so I never hit anything with a baseball bat.
That's a part of your Randy Savage
tried
impersonation that isn't accurate.
Right, which is why you've never seen me talk about that part, right? Oh, man.
All right.
I've never
Thanks
chopped
a
a
lot,
tree
Sean.
down or anything, so I've never used that. But yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks, Sean. Next is Stu Myrick from 104.9 FM The Horn. Austin, go ahead, Stu.
Thank you, Mark. How you doing, champ? Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you. I'm doing good. I'm in Tampa, Florida.
You're in Tampa, Florida?
Where are you? Yeah, where are you at?
I'm in Austin, Texas. So we're both doing pretty good.
Okay. We got the same kind of weather. Yeah.
You were just back in February. Let me ask this. I want to go kind of a different route. Talking about heading to the Garden and everything. I want to talk about a relationship you have with someone that I'm lucky enough to call a friend, Kerry Silkin. He and you have a very strong bond. Just talk about your relationship with him and what he has meant to you and your career.
Oh man, do we have the time? Kerry Silkin, and years ago when I met him, just a different time, we didn't really talk as much, and it makes me sad because seeing how close we are today means that I missed out on a few years of one of the best friendships I've ever had in my life. He's been like I hope he doesn't feel old when I say this, but he's been almost like a second dad to me. My dad now is the greatest dad in the world, but I feel like I have two dads. That's the type of relationship. He's been there anytime I've ever needed advice or help with anything. He's always there. And we share the same love for music. He actually turned me on to Jethro Tull. And he took me to I went to my first concert ever with Kerry Silkin, and I talked to him constantly on the phone, and it's one of the greatest friendships I have. But if I had to describe what the friendship is like, it's like me having a second dad. And I love it because I love my first dad, so of course I would love my second.
Couldn't agree more. He's a good friend, and thanks for the words.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Stu. Jay took a lot of extra time, so I really, really appreciate it. That's all the time we have for our media call today. Our ROH 17th anniversary show, again, airs live from Las Vegas this Friday, March 15th at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific through traditional pay-per-view providers, free to Honor Club VIP, and at a 50% discount for Honor Club Standard members.